To be able to present. Welcome to Donna Ana Community College Latinx Heritage Month celebration. And my name is Flo Trujillo. I'm president of REFORMA de Nuevo, Mexico. REFORMA is a national association to promote library and information services to the Spanish speaking. During the time of COVID, REFORMA has distributed STEAM supplies and bilingual books to the free little libraries in Donna Ana County with a generous grant from the Stalker Foundation. Our partners at Explora Science Center and Children's Museum in Albuquerque have created bilingual printable STEM activity cards to help with virtual learning in the classroom and encourage kids to participate in science fair. Visit the website or check the chat box for some more details. Jose can make those available to you if you're interested. What I wanted to do today is talk to you about STEAM. More importantly, STEAM Adobe. STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. One of the things that I feel is very important about the presentations is during COVID, now we're going into the virtual classroom. And in order to preserve some of our traditional cultures and historic preservation of what we have in New Mexico and some of the jewels that we have in New Mexico, it's important to share this resource not only virtually but in the classroom. So I hope some educators are out there and consider using this, and also create some new stuff as well, and bring out some more of the traditional New Mexico heritage and cultures that they learned when they were a child. What I'm going to share with you in STEAM Adobe is what I learned when I was a little girl. As the oldest granddaughter, I enjoyed making mud pies. So who didn't enjoy making mud pies? My grandfather was a carpenter and he had 8 sons. And of course, when the family grew, so did our house. Our house grew into, my grandparents' house grew into the traditional adobe. So as the oldest granddaughter, I was always probably in the way, and my grandfather very creatively MacGyvered his way into helping me learn about STEAM without really realizing what STEAM was. I was able to sieve dirt. I was able to get any kind of dirt. We have this wonderful rich dirt in New Mexico that has clay. And one of the things that he kept me busy with was sieving some of the dirt that had lots of rocks, similar to the rocks that are in this little sieve here. I'm using this little strainer to show what I used to do when I was a little girl. They had a particular little sieve that was about book size, and we used to run the dirt through there, and we used to collect it in a bucket. So I would just mix it, and all of the rocks would come out, and I would get some fine dirt. So for this presentation today, one of the things that you'll need is sand, some of our beautiful rich sand. So if you don't have some, you can make some now with a little sieve. And the sand is called arena, and arena is actually just regular dirt. You'll also need paja, straw. You can use barley straw, or right now at the hobby stores you can find a lot of straw because of the holiday. And you can use arcilla, which is just clay. Sometimes you'll find it gray when out in the community when you're hiking, and it's usually about a red color. And you can break it down and run it through the sieve if you don't want it very lumpy also. So those are the ingredients that we are going to use. We are also going to use a fork. Usually, traditionally, they would use a wheelbarrow and they would use a rake. So what we're going to be doing with the fork is not mixing, but we'll be blending in the same way that our ancestors, and actually to this very day, make adobe to create the wonderful adobe homes and other materials. This STEAM career began with the Egyptians, and in the Southwest is known as the traditional enjaradora, or adobe finisher, who designed the size of the adobe brick and the right mixture to make a solid home. So that's where STEAM comes in. That's how we use our science and technology, engineering, arts, and math. This is also called soquete. Yes, we are making the adobe bricks or mud bricks. As I mentioned, I really enjoyed doing this with my grandfather, or he probably felt he was teaching me something, but also keeping me out of his way. The regular adobe bricks are about 14 inches by 10 inches by 4 inches. And our traditional brick is going to be very small. In fact, with a little practice and a little determination, you can make a little casita, a hacienda, or a pueblo, similar to what I'm starting over here. This traditional brick is a very little one, and I'm going to show you some of the kit that I use to start creating this. I just use a regular board on the bottom, and I start creating my project. This little piece here is pretty heavy. It's already about, with all the mud intact, it's probably about 5 or 10 pounds. So it starts to get a little heavy. So be careful and make sure you don't set it up somewhere where you can't move it or where you can't make adjustments. This is called soquete. Yes, we are making the Adobe bricks, as I mentioned. The soquete is just mud. It's the Spanish word for mud. And mud works best because it shrinks into the bricks. The design also of the house and the architecture also includes wooden frame doors and windows, but not too many because it weakens the structure, and I'll show you how that the result comes out afterwards. My husband was really nice to put together a wonderful little casita for me that I've always wanted. So this cultural tradition keeps us cool in the summer and warm in the winter using the natural resources. So if you can make a house, or if you can build a house or architect a house, you can live in it. And so right now we're going to get started. I want to share with you some of the other resources that we need. We put together this wonderful little, it looks like a little cookie cutter. We just used little pieces of wood, and you can use popsicle sticks if you like. You can glue them together. We went ahead and used little nails, and we nailed it together. Usually this would be the size of the Adobe, the 14-inch by 10 by 4 inches. Now the 4 inches, the height of it, the reason you stack it is so that you can create your house. Usually, as I mentioned, not more than 2 stories is really what a traditional Adobe house is. And don't forget, when you put it out into the sun to dry, it needs to dry in the sun. You can't put it where it's raining. Right now we have a little bit of wind and rain. Wind is good for the Adobes. It dries it quicker with this wonderful New Mexico sun. But the rain in New Mexico will dissolve just like mud dissolves. And so to cover it up with a little tarp, if you put it out and you're making an Adobe structure. But if you're just making a little one, put it somewhere safe so that you can keep working on it. I like to use a regular little bowl, as I showed you with the sieve. One of these little Ziploc bowls is nice because you can throw all your mixture in it and blend everything in it. Then you can use the lid to put your wonderful little cookie cutter square or your little mold. Usually, traditionally, they make lots of these. You can't just use one. And sometimes they put them all together, so it makes a very long, I guess, design or mold, so they can put the mud in and make several Adobes at one time. The traditional Adobe usually takes about 3 days to dry, and then they turn it over and let it dry on the side as well. So you want to make sure that it's nice and dry before you start piling it up so it doesn't break up. Also, the secret to this is not to mix it, but to blend it. So what I'm going to do with all of my wonderful little kits is I'm going to mix it all together, and I just happen to have a bottled water here, and I'm going to put in some water. Now don't just start pouring. Just like when you're baking cookies or making a mixture of cookies, you add a little at a time. I would start with about a tablespoon of water for the kit that I have that I'm making here. And then you blend it together just like I'm blending this. Do you see the straw, the clay, and the dirt, and how I'm blending all of it together? Once you blend it all together, it is ready. It's a little thicker. Don't forget, you're making mud, so you can use your hands. See how my hand is in here? And of course, I have my lid with my kit, and I am going to just get this. And sometimes it's good to make it into a little ball if you need to. This is something I got to do when I was a little girl also. I got to really get my hands dirty. So you'll see what it's starting to look like before I start to mold it. Do you see how I threw it in here? and it's kind of sticking out. Well, it's nice and thick, so it's not runny. And now what they used to do is they used to press it down to create that mold. As they created that mold, they also leveled it off. So most of the time they had an extra piece of wood that they could use, and they run it through to level it off. Mine, I can just press it right now. Do you see how nicely pressed it is here to make my Adobe? Now all I need to do is put this out into the sun and let it dry, and in about a day or two I will have a nice little Adobe brick. You'll notice that the straw that is in here, the clay in the sand, the reason we like this New Mexico sand is because it already has clay. Most of it has about 30% of clay in the dirt, if you find the right mixture. But the clay acts like a glue, and adding the straw keeps the Adobe from cracking, and it helps it dry evenly. And I'll show you what it looks like after it dries. So I'll move this out of my way here. And of course, you're gonna have muddy little hands like mine. At the end, what you're gonna do is you're gonna have a brick, just like this one. And it's nice and hard. This has been drying in the sun. And all you do is push it out. You can push it out. It comes off pretty easily. Let's see if I can take it out. Here it is. And you have formed a little brick. Now, after you have your brick, when you have your brick, oops, I'm sorry about that. When you have your brick, you can start lining them up, and you can start creating or being an architecture. Or actually, I should just say an enjarradora. Let me break this up, because then you can see the inside of it. It almost is like a little cookie. Do you see the inside of the brick? It has the straw mixture right here. And as I mentioned, this is what keeps it from cracking. And notice how nicely built this is. This is nice and hard. It almost looks like another little rock that you can use. So this little brick, I just broke it just so that you would see the inside of it. And it's pretty awesome. And it's something to have a classroom do, and maybe create something for your classroom. Or it's something that it's almost like Legos. You can have the kids make in the traditional way of you making an Adobe, and really just enjoying the day with your family. And maybe those stories will pop up, because you can probably talk to a grandparent or a great-grandparent, and they can tell you about how they made Adobes, or how they remember how they saw making Adobes are made. Now there's a lot of companies and a lot of construction companies that do make them, but it's always kind of nice to know about the traditions and how it works. The other thing I want to share with you also is the wonderful recipes and what you can get from this presentation as well. Today, if you email, you can get a little kit. The little kit contains all of the wonderful clay and the straw kit and the pre-made, including, you'll see my little straw, my wonderful little fork here. Or I don't give you the wheelbarrow, that you just need to find. The only thing that it doesn't come with is the Ziploc container, but you don't have to use a Ziploc container. Just use an old mixing bowl, or you can find maybe a paper bowl, but don't use the real china either, the silverware. You don't want to do that either. So try to make sure that you can make this a whole family event. Make it a classroom event. Share the resources. Go to your public library. Pick up books. Find out how the very first career that started with the mud was back with the Egyptians, and find out the history of how it evolved. Sharing the traditional ways of the Latinx culture is very important to keep and preserve our arts and culture alive. I want to, as I mentioned earlier, to share what Explora has offered. Explora and our free little libraries do have these wonderful little, well, actually they're pretty good size. They're downloadable prints that you can find that Jose is going to make sure is available on this presentation. And they are in bilingual format. So this one is static electricity, It is an opportunity for you to share with your kids in the virtual classroom how to get ready for a science fair project. Reforma really wants to make sure that every child right now in the virtual classroom has the opportunity to participate. We don't know what it's going to look like, but we want you to continue to do things at home in the traditional way and learn more. I'm sure you're learning many of the things that are in the community right now. I want to also share my little casita. Um, as I mentioned, with a little practice and a little determination, you can make a wonderful little casita. Here we have, see if you can see it all right, the little blue door that's right here. I don't know if you can see it all right. This little blue door is for a very specific reason. For many Native American people, the blue door prevents any evil presence from entering your home. And a lot of times they painted the little windows around it. Remember I said that you can use these wonderful Adobe bricks to create the hacienda or your house. And after you line it up, make sure that you put in some room for windows and also doors. Not too many, as I mentioned, the structure needs to be a little solid. I've seen a lot of these that are painted not in just only the turquoise color, but also in light blue and medium blue. It's mainly for it mainly makes a decorative statement. So you could use any other color. I've seen them with other colors also, but it sure speaks loudly. Also right next to it, I thought it was really nice to have my husband who put together a wonderful little horno. The horno is the oven, and you notice the small beehive shaped Adobe oven here? It's also, as I mentioned, called the horno. The indigenous looks actually is part of the architectural landscape. So it looks really nice with a lot of your Adobe homes. And this little miniature model is just reminding you of how the Middle Eastern horno morphed into the one that we see today in the pueblos and in the Hispanic villages. And Arabs have used the Adobe for about 6,000 years. So not only the Egyptians started playing with mud, and you've probably read a lot about that, but the Arabs have been using this for over 6,000 years. And their technology of the dome construction is just breathtaking. So that's why we have our wonderful horno. I want to thank you. Make sure that you request a copy. Visit Reforma de Nuevo Mexico blog and find out more information about our resources and our services. And I want to thank Donna Ana Community College for giving us the opportunity during Latinx Heritage Month celebration to present Adobe STEAM. You will get a wonderful little recipe in English and in Spanish, along with the kit. Visit us on the website. And don't forget that Latinx Heritage Month celebration continues. Check the Donna Ana Community College website for the full schedule. And thank you for joining me on STEAM Adobe. And thank you, Jose, for letting me have this opportunity.
Oh, you're so welcome, and that was so nice. Are there any questions from our viewers? I don't see any, but I did have one, Flo. I know during Christmas time, a lot of people like having these little houses decorated around the tree or in a separate display. I've never seen it down here of little houses made of Adobe. Do they exist up in your neck of the woods?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I've even seen some in some display shops. Some people even use rocks and carve them out to create the little casitas that decorate, so they put candles inside of them. I don't have one with me, but they even add the little chili ristra by using paper mache on the side and gluing it to the house. So you can get as creative as you want with your little casita. I would think that traditionally, I've seen it also as a gingerbread house. So you can be as creative as possible. It doesn't always have to be with soquete, but I like the idea of being able to use a variety of creative mediums for this. So thank you, Jose.
And that's interesting you say that word soquete. I grew up in Southern California knowing what soquete was, but in my travels And with my South American wife, you know, they don't use that word. So it's neat that it still exists, especially up in your neck of the woods.
Mhm.
A lot
Mhm.
of different things to learn about in this cultural exchange. Well, once
Yes,
again, thanks a lot, Flo, for joining us. It's a
thank
great
you.
presentation. And I actually see nothing but good comments
Good.
uh, on the chat. There is one by, yeah, everyone's thanking you. But TJ does say, he goes, I remember seeing these little candles in Mesa when I was in
Oh,
college. Okay.
well, see, there you go. Muy bien. Well, I hope that everyone enjoys it, and thank you very much again, Jose. And you guys have a wonderful time, and I think we'll be doing some other things with you another time. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm gonna share the slide here. Let me see. That has, yep, there are your links. The first link is to the Reforma blog Flo mentioned about, and the second one is the Pinterest website. Is that what you said the recipes were, Flo?
Yes, those are the ones that are linked to Explora Science Center and the bilingual cards so that they can do lots of science experiments, and they're wonderful downloadables.
Very good. And then, of course, the last one is your email. So get in touch with Flo, especially if you want one of those kits. Well, thank you all for coming. Our next presentation will be tomorrow on the Armijo family, pioneers of the Mesilla Valley. And don't forget to check out our website that has an online component with a lot of more information and displays concerning Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you all. Let me